Magic Talks Daily Dialogue with Peter Williams. Here's an interview you may have missed.
The National Party Police spokesman, Simeon Brown, with me now. Hi, Simeon.
Good morning, Peter. How are you?
I'm very well. More to the point, how are you? Because I understand you've had another threat made against you. Tell us about it.
Yeah, look, I have, Peter. So yesterday, the news came out that the Mongrel Mob had congregated for a funeral in the Hawke's Bay and took to the roads and took over the roads yesterday, which I made some comments about, saying that I thought this was frankly unacceptable and shouldn't be tolerated by this government. We're seeing gangs becoming more emboldened in New Zealand. Their membership is now above 8,000, and the reality is no one should be above the law.
So what was said to you in response to your comments?
Look, I've had a number of threats come through, threatening my life from certain people via Messenger on Facebook, and I've taken those to the police.
Are they going to deal with them?
Look, I'm going to be putting all the information to them, and as I've done in the past when this has happened. And but the reality is, look, no one in New Zealand should have to feel threatened because of these mobsters. They tell New Zealanders that they are a community betterment organisation. You would have had their spokesperson on your show from time to time trying to tell you all the amazing things they do. But the reality is what they continue to show New Zealanders is that they are happy to break the law and also threaten people, and that's unacceptable.
Well, it's very obvious that there have been instructions from on high in the police force that these people will be treated with the utmost leniency. And the police, the police administration, in other words, Andrew Costa, might be getting instructions himself from government that we should treat these people with leniency.
Look, the government needs to be clear. Do they think it's acceptable that these gangsters can take over major state highways through the Hawke's Bay? If this was to happen in Auckland, imagine both sides of the motorway on the southern motorway being taken over by the gangsters and stopping traffic. That's unacceptable in the Hawke's Bay, and it would be unacceptable on the southern motorway, and it should be unacceptable on the Hawke's Bay. And the reality is the law should be enforced. The other factor in this matter is that not only did they take over the road, but the funeral was held at a school. Meaning that students didn't attend school for Monday and Tuesday of this week at that particular school. So the question the government needs to also answer is whether it's acceptable and whether it's policy of this government to allow gangs to utilise school premises for their gatherings.
So whereabouts was that? Back in Hastings? Was
That's right.
The tangi and the funeral service held on school grounds?
It was held on school grounds at a school in Flaxmere. That's
somewhat extraordinary, to say the least.
Well, and the reality is there was a Facebook post put up by the school, I think on Sunday night, urgent pānui out to the families in whānau, saying, look, we would like you to not bring your students in on Monday or Tuesday because there's a large funeral taking place. That means those students didn't go to school for 2 days. Those families were disrupted. Those students' learning was disrupted. In my opinion, that's unacceptable, and the government needs to answer the question again. Is it acceptable for students' education to be put aside so that this tangi could take place at the school premises? They have every right to hold a tangi and every right to be able to have that funeral. The reality is, though, should they be above the law, being able to utilise school premises for that, and also being able to take over the road with the police essentially standing by and watching.
Yeah, they're all very fair and relevant questions, Simeon, absolutely fair and relevant. But what about the practicalities of it? It would appear as if in that situation yesterday the police were outnumbered, even though apparently some reinforcements came in from the Bay of Plenty. They're outnumbered. I think you would realise that if they went in there and started issuing traffic infringement notices, there would probably be hell to pay. The police themselves would be threatened. The police would be in danger. Isn't there a workplace safety issue here?
Well, look, what I think this shows is the fact that gangs are becoming more emboldened in our country. They are becoming stronger. The reality is gang membership has now increased beyond 8,000 in New Zealand. Thus, within only another couple of years, they could well outstrip the number of police officers in New Zealand. That's a major public law and order issue for New Zealanders, of huge concern to me and I'm sure to many other New Zealanders. And what concerns me is the government is not taking this issue seriously. They promised 1,800 new police over 3 years. It's almost 4 years, and they've only got to 1,300 of that number. They promised 700 new police focused on targeting and gangs and organised crime. They've only delivered 242 of those particular focused police officers. So the reality is the government has a lot to answer for here. Are they going to take this issue seriously and give the police the resources they need to hold these people to account?
So is the National Party policy still the same as it was when Simon Bridges was the leader, to put special gang surveillance people in here and to hit them hard, even on the minor infringements, such as with traffic offences and the like? Because that was effectively the model that Australia used, wasn't it? Doesn't it? And
that's what we took to the last election. That was the model we took to the last election in our policies.
Yeah, well, I know that the last election was fought on in the end on other issues, and that one might have got lost in the wash-up. But is that still National Party policy, to be staunch and hard like that?
Absolutely. I mean, absolutely. We need to give the police the resources and the tools they need to be able to go out there and make life difficult for gangs. I mean, this government has been slow and soft when it comes to doing anything. They've announced this year they're finally going to introduce firearm prohibition orders, but they just made an announcement of an announcement. The legislation won't be coming to Parliament until sometime later this year. I've got a bill before Parliament. It's just got through Select Committee. It's back on the order paper. They could support that. It could be law within the next couple of months if they wanted to actually take this issue seriously. So look, we're not just criticising, we're putting forward ideas about what needs to be done to keep New Zealanders safe and actually give the police the tools and resources they need to be able to tackle this growing problem.
Yeah. Simeon, I understand completely where you come from, and so do many hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of New Zealanders. But the reality is that we've been saying these sorts of things for 50 years, haven't we? I mean, Muldoon's relationship with the gangs was it was to be friendly to start with, but then various other administrations over the years have done the get tough with gangs type of line, and it's never worked because we've now got to the stage where the gangs are actually getting stronger, not weaker. So maybe what Andrew Costa and Andrew Little are trying to do might be worth trying for a while.
Well, look, these guys have been in power for now just over 3.5 years, and what we've seen is a 50% increase in gang membership under that short period of time. Gang members there are now over 8,000 gang members on the streets. They're almost at the point where there'll be more gang members than police officers. So I would say what they're doing is not working when we see a 50% increase in gang membership over a 3-year period. Something's not working on their approach. And the reality is, look, there are issues that need to be addressed, social issues as well. But you also need to enforce the law. No one should be above the law in New Zealand.
Yep. Couldn't agree more with you. Stay safe, Simeon, because you've had those threats made against you. And thank you for joining us this morning. That's the National Party Police spokesman, Simeon Brown.
Catch any interviews you missed on Rover or anywhere else you listen to podcasts. Peter Williams, 9 till noon, weekday mornings on Magic Talk.